All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name's Charmaine. I'm a customer care manager here at Amatree, and I'll be your moderator today. Feel free to ask any questions that come to mind via the chat box on your screen as we go through the webinar. We'll leave some time to answer questions throughout the webinar and at the end. And we're just going to wait a few more minutes to let some more people trickle in. So in the meantime, please let us know a little bit about yourselves. Where are you based? What's your role? Do you primarily use Folio on Gmail, web, or Outlook? And do you collaborate on Folio with others by sharing timelines with them? We'd love to know, just a little bit more about you. So yeah, we'll just, give people a couple more minutes to, trickle in. So thanks for coming. All right, awesome. It looks like we have people here from California, Colorado, Pittsburgh. It's awesome. Yeah, so it looks like everyone's settled in, so let's just get started. I'd like to introduce my colleague Giovanni, who will be presenting today's webinar. He has years of customer success experience and is a certified Folio master. He is Amatree's first customer success manager, and you've probably had a conversation or two with him.
Hi, Charmaine. Thank you. And yeah, welcome everyone. So yeah, thank you for taking some time out of your busy day. We know your time is precious. So today we're going to cover a few topics here, and it's really just meant to get the most, squeeze the most out of your subscription. We know that you're spending your hard-earned money on us. We know that other companies are always hitting you up for subscriptions and renewals and all that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you are getting the most bang for your bucks, getting the most value out of your services. And that's what we want to accomplish today. So today, I want to cover over just a few kind of broad topics and we'll go into the details about how to maximize their benefit. So I am thankful to you all that responded and kind of letting us know kind of where you're from and how you primarily use Folio. It looks like we do have a lot of Gmail users that joined us today. So we'll definitely highlight all those relevant features. So today we're going to cover our new Google Drive feature, the sender sidebar, which is something you may have noticed, as well as some lesser known features that I really want to dig into and discuss the differences of our different folder types. There may be some confusion there on what folders do, and so the different types of folders. So we'll talk about that. And then finish up with our kind of referral program and how you can get some credit for all the referrals you're probably sending our way. All right. So first things first. I'm going to jump in over to our web version of Folio, and just to kind of show you what you can do within your settings now. If in your settings, you can actually now connect to Google Drive. And when you do this, what's going to happen now is for a long time, actually, so we'll take a step back. People have been asking us, hey, I have, I love Folio. I love how Folio grabs all my emails and finds those relevant files and documents. How do I get those in my hands outside of like Folio, or how do I get more of those files into that little files section? So now, with our new integration, if you're a Gmail user, you just connect Folio to your Google Drive account. And what's going to happen now is just like we've done it inside your Gmail, where we have folders for each property or client, we're doing the same directly inside your Google Drive. So now you'll see two brand new folders called Folio and Folio Archive. And from there, you can actually just click into the individual folders and see all the documents that Folio has identified for you. So if I go into this folder and this one email has a document attached to it, it's listed here in my file section. But now it's also being uploaded, or has already been uploaded over to your Google Drive. So you can, once you enable this, any and all of your active smart folders, so anything kind of in this Folio parent folder that we consider active, will automatically get this Google Drive set up, folder set up, and we'll sync these documents over into essentially the Google Drive cloud. Now, what you can do once this document is inside your Google Drive, it kind of opens up a whole new world of things that you weren't able to do in conjunction with Folio before. So things like creating a link or sharing this document with a client. You can provide them a link, send them an email. You can even maybe copy that link and put it in like in the Folio notes inside a timeline event, like, hey, here's the attachment or the purchase agreement. You can check it out and see it in there. You can share a folder. You can actually share this whole folder if you wanted to, and probably give access to, let's say, your TC or your admin or your partner agent. And what's actually kind of nifty and cool is that if they have access to that Drive folder and you've given them permissions to be able to access and update it, they can actually upload documents to that Google Drive file, and they'll show up kind of inside Folio. So again, it's kind of a lightweight way of sharing documents through Folio, but not necessarily directly, but through our features. You kind of, again, open up a new world of things that you haven't been able to do before directly through Folio. If you're already a Google Drive user, you kind of know what you're doing. So again, it's going to kind of hopefully save you some time and energy there. If you're not a Google Drive user, I would recommend trying out the feature, see if it works, see if it saves you some time. I'll answer some quick questions here that come up regarding this. So today, all the files get created under the Folio and Folio Archive folder. You can't, if you already have your own kind of filing system within Google Drive, we can't direct the files to a specific folder you have today. It has to be our pre-created folders that we do for you. The sync is mostly one way, meaning the email needs to be inside the relevant Folio folder, and that email needs to contain that attachment in order to upload that document. So you can't directly upload a document kind of here unless you do it through your Google Drive. So again, everything goes from inside Folio to that Google Drive. Cool. If you have any questions regarding this, just go ahead and type it into the chat, and we'll happily follow up on those. Next, I want to talk about the sender sidebar. So some of you may or may have not already noticed that if you open up an email, let's see, let's try another one because that didn't work out the way I expected it to. If you open up an email that doesn't have this Folio label, right? It's not part of a transaction. What you're going to see is this little sidebar, which we call the sender sidebar, and it'll list the previous conversations you've had with this particular contact. If you have any attachments associated with it, they'll show up, or events. The idea here is to give you visibility into that contact like we would for your transaction, meaning all that information in context, attachments, events. That way you have to spend less time kind of clicking around or searching through all your email or doing like a quick search. As long as you click in and find like a contact that you want to find, like say with me, you can find any relevant documentation there. And if it's if this person is part of a folder, we'll also show that kind of in this way right here. Now, I know some of you may not like that feature. Perhaps it might be too intrusive, or it's not as relevant for all your email correspondence. Like maybe so if you see promotions or spam emails, it might not be relevant. So we want to hide it. All you have to do is click on this little Folio button over here, and the next time you visit that email, it won't show up, right? This setting, this save will stay in your current Gmail session until the next time you reload. It'll show up again. But as long as you do that once and you're not refreshing your Gmail every 5 minutes, it'll stay hidden. You can find that through the little show side panel option here. If you absolutely do not like that feature, go into your settings and disable that sender sidebar feature, and then refresh your Gmail, and that's it. It's gone away. Great. So let's move on. Again, for our Gmail users, if you are inside Gmail and you have our extension in place, did you know that we actually have an integration with DocuSign? So if you hover over a document, you can actually have the option to save things through Google Drive, but also get the DocuSign Signature. So if you have a DocuSign account already, all you need to do is hover over it, click on it, select whom you want to send your DocuSign over, and these contacts are the folks that you've already identified right here. And click continue. You might not be able to see my screen, but the login page for DocuSign shows up, and you'll be logged into your DocuSign account. All right, let's move on. So we know that you, as busy real estate professionals, are on the go, always moving, and you're not always in front of your laptop with Chrome installed, with our extension installed. Maybe you're moving between offices, or you're on the road. One thing that we released, actually more like a year ago, is actually a much friendlier mobile version of Folio. So when you're on your mobile device, whether that's a tablet or or you're on your mobile device, like your phone, if you visit the website amateur.com and sign in, you'll get this view where you can now just simply go in and click into your smart folder from your mobile device, and you'll have access to things like your timeline, just like you would expect. It would open up, and you can manage your timeline, set up a timeline, add things to it, what you need to do. See your task. You'll see snippets of your email. So if you click on them, it'll go ahead and open the relevant Gmail account, or to get to it, or if you have an Outlook account, it'll open up your Outlook account. You can see your list of contacts, so you don't have to go and scroll through a bunch of emails to find those contacts. And what I think is most useful is the fact that your attachments are all directly inside that smart folder, right? So if you're on your mobile phone and you need to pull up the let's say the inspection report, you don't want to dig through all your emails, you can just click on that, and Folio will request permission from your Gmail account to download that document and show it directly onto that device. Right. I'm just wondering, and I'll ask an open-ended question, are you all using that today? Are you actively using our mobile site? One more. So while we're in here and on the website, just know that at any point, whether you are just close the transaction or need to go back to an older transaction and download the PDF of emails, you can go ahead and just hit download email PDFs, and within 24 hours, typically less, you'll get an email with a PDF attachment of all the text of the emails. So now, in conjunction with Google Drive and the fact that all your documents are being uploaded to Google Drive, you can now have a full accounting of the emails that you're working on with your client, as well as all the relevant documents. That way, for compliance reasons, you can upload them to your broker, upload them to Dropbox or any other kind of repository where all that is required. Great. So now let's talk about what happens quickly when you are ready to close on a transaction. So everything's closed. What you can do through Folio, and if you haven't tried it out, is I would recommend to do so, is to request for a review. So we try to make it easy for you to make that extra ask at the end of a transaction. Hopefully, when everything went well and your client is super happy, you can ask them to request a review. All you have to do is select who you're going to send this to, and add a valid URL to any review site, whether that's Zillow, Facebook, Google Maps, Yelp. You can add one link per email. Go ahead and test it, make sure it goes to the right place, and then just go ahead, customize the email, and send it out. So again, so there for the request for review, it is a one-time send, so there's no additional reminders, but you can send that email as many times as you want, especially if you want to do things like send your clients to multiple review sites. A best practice is usually to focus on one area, like whether that's Zillow, Facebook, or Yelp. Build your brand and repository of reviews in one place before you move on to the next. Great. And one quick thing, last thing here that you can find out within your settings on the website, and this applies to all our users at Outlook and Gmail users. If there's ever a time that you notice that maybe some of your calendar events are missing, or you accidentally deleted one, or you inadvertently removed or deleted your transaction calendar and all your Folio events are missing, no fear, you don't have to contact us anymore. All you have to do is go to your settings over here and click Resync Calendar, and Folio within a few short minutes will repopulate all those missing calendar events. So if that calendar is synced to your tablet, your mobile device, and we're missing there, now they're going to show up right away. So no more missed events. Great. So I'll pause there if there's any specific questions, and before I move on. And I just want to make sure that my audio is.
Hey, Joy. Yeah, we just had a question about going over the review request again. Do you mind just showing that to us once more?
Yeah, so from the website or from inside, so from the website or from inside your Gmail account, just close some of these tabs out. You can hover over in the menu option and go to Ask for a Review. And this feature is enabled at any point, so you don't have to wait for it to close. You can just ask for the review at any point, or maybe restore an old transaction, an old timeline to it. And all you have to do is type in the email or find your relevant client and copy paste the URL for your review site. So if you go to Yelp or Facebook, just copy the URL that directs people to your review page where they can just go ahead and click on things. Just a quick note here for Zillow, we do add a little heads up to your client that they have to create a Zillow account. So we do kind of provide that extra step of documentation since Zillow kind of forces you to create an account. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. I don't see any. Yes. The attendee says it did answer their question.
Awesome. So now what I want to move over to is if you are on the website or inside Gmail, you've probably noticed folder suggestions that don't contain a property, right? Maybe for Leah, Beverly. What are these? These are contacts that Folio thinks that are potential clients or the potential that you're potentially working with. That way they're either going to be a future seller or a future buyer. And what you can do is confirm and add those people as buyers or sellers. And what's going to happen is that Folio is going to grab all the emails between you and that person or persons that you've identified as buyers and start putting them in a folder for you. So just like we do for a transaction, we'll collect all the emails, the contacts you've added here, and we'll save your notes and any attachments that come in. But we also give you access to a timeline. Right? So this is kind of bare bones folder, but you can imagine now that let's say you get they receive that pre-approved letter for a loan, you can start building out a timeline for that buyer to start documenting and showing them how you're going to be working with them to kind of find that home. And you can do this for buyers or sellers. And then what happens when they're ready to buy and they have a offer accepted, all you have to do is go jump over here inside and switch them from buyer to buyer under contract. And what Folio will ask you to do here at that point is to update and provide us with a valid the property that's in question, which at that point you can then also rename that folder to reflect the property. And then you can save it to, you can save the changes. Now, what happens when you do this? The big question and thing to note is the difference between a buyer and a buyer under contract folder. We call that pre-contract, right? So pre-contract clients, we're only looking for the emails between you and that client's email address. So that's why it's important to identify the relevant buyers and not add yourself as a buyer, because then you're gonna get everything kind of tagged with the wrong tag. So over here, we would see we're just getting the emails from Dario in that regard. But once you convert it over to a transaction or under contract buyer or under contract seller, we're going to start grabbing all the emails that relate to the property, so 498 Park Avenue. So if there's a question like, hey, I created this folder and I don't see the emails, a quick thing you want to check is like, what folder type do you have them set up as? Do you have them as a buyer, as a pre-contract client? At that point, you should only expect the emails between yourself and that client. And if it's under contract, you should expect us, Folio, to grab the emails based on the short property address. So you can confirm up here. If you have more than one buyer, you can add multiple buyers. So if it's like a couple or like in a group of investors, you can do it in that way. Again, quick tip is to not add yourself, like your personal email account, as a buyer. Otherwise, you're going to get all your emails tagged with the wrong folder. Hey, and I'll pause there for any questions regarding that, since it's typically generates some questions here and there.
Looks like most of our questions aren't related to what you just discussed, but maybe we'll give a few minutes for people to chime in.
Yeah, and again, we can always come back to those here in a second. And the last thing I wanted to talk about while we're here is if you notice from our main menu or from the website, you see this Get Credit, Earn Credit. We launched a referral program a few months back, but essentially you get $25 credit every time you refer 5 of your contacts to Folio and who set up an account. They don't have to pay for a subscription or anything like that. They just have to be brand new Folio users to Folio. They go ahead and start with the trial. They get 3 concurrent smart folders. On the free program, you'll get a $25 credit, and they will receive a $10 credit on their account. So in the future, if they love Folio, they'll get it at a slight discount. So it's our way of like sharing the love that you've kind of been giving us, and so you can get some credit in the process. So you can just quickly just show you can just select the relevant folks, add a note, and you can just send it via email, or you can copy paste the referral link. That way they can use it when they set up an account. Great, I'll leave it there. I'm open to any questions at this point that we didn't discuss. And for any of you those that have a hard stop at 10:30, thank you for joining. We'll be hanging back to answer questions.
All right, so yeah, we just got a question from Cheryl. She asks, when sharing a timeline, is there a way to save my changed wording for future use?
When you edit your timeline, is there a way to save the wording for future use? From the timeline, not from the timeline directly, but definitely through our templates. It's actually a great way of avoiding reinventing the wheel every time, is to go inside and create a edit or create a buyer or a listing template. And inside here is actually something that you can leverage is the notes. So notes here or the phrasing of the title of that item or that event and templatize it, right? So go ahead, it's going to be the same information every single time. And you can just save it in the template. And that way, next time you create a timeline, that information is going to be applied. Let's say that you went ahead and updated a bunch of your templates, but you have a lot of active timelines that you wish you could just apply all those changes to. When you make changes to a template, it doesn't apply automatically to any existing active timelines, but you can go ahead and reapply any template to an existing timeline. So if you make changes to a template, you can manually update the timeline in that way. It will reset the things, but as long as you have your key dates in there, it'll update it based on your existing key date events.
Awesome. Hopefully that helps. Let us know in the chat box, Cheryl, if you have any follow-up questions. We got a few more timeline questions. How do you cancel a timeline if a transaction gets canceled so the notifications stop going out?
One more time.
How do you cancel a timeline if a transaction gets canceled so the notifications stop going out?
Okay. So there's a couple scenarios. So it depends if we're referring to like a listing side timeline or a buyer side timeline. Typically, on a buyer side, if you represent the buyer side and the transaction falls through, at that point you're most likely just going to want to archive the transaction. When you archive a transaction, any and all reminders, events, calendar items are going to get pulled down. If you are working on the listing side of things and you had an offer and the offer fell through, or that fell through, there's an option here for transaction filter, and this is out through the website. And what's going to happen is we're going to clear and remove out all the dates from the offer accepted going forward, and it'll keep all the events prior to that. So if you're working with the seller, you don't want to clear out and delete all that detail and items that you've already worked on, but all the stuff going forward isn't relevant anymore, so we clear that up for you. At that point, the only thing you need to do is make sure if you share the timeline with the buyer, that's no longer going to be relevant. You can just go ahead and unshare them.
All right. Yeah, it looks like that was helpful for the attendee that asked that question. So thanks, Giovanni. We have a follow-up for the first question about timeline templates. The attendee asks, so there's no way of saving a template the first time the entire timeline is being shared with client and co-op agent?
The short answer is unfortunately no. The idea behind the templates is that you create your template from the templates page. That way it can be used in the future.
All right. Let's see. We had a few more issues. Let's see. This looks like a broad question. Is there a way to make a private note on a public deadline?
A private note on a public deadline, no. So I think you're referring to if you are actively sharing a timeline, let's say let's just pick one over here, and you wanted to make if the event itself is set to be shared with everyone, all the information here is shared with everyone. You can have the event itself be only visible to yourself and those that have edit permissions, or make the event itself completely private, meaning no one has access to it. For that use case, like that specific where you want like a note for a private note for a public event, I would just recommend creating a second event that references the first.
Okay. That sounds about right. Let's see. We had a few specific questions. For one attendee, they wrote, the last time they were updating a close of escrow date, the tab was open but was inaccessible. Are there any fixes?
I'm not sure if I follow. So the last time there was a Can you repeat that one more time for me, Charmaine?
The last time they were updating a close of escrow date, the tab was open but was inaccessible. So it sounds like maybe there was an issue with the browser tab.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. I think that would be more of a specific issue where we have to like loop in our support team to kind of dig into exactly what went on. And what I can say generally there, though, is if you find yourself in a situation where you're trying to save something and it doesn't save, it's not accessible, a good practice is to close out all the tabs you have open that have Folio, and if you use multiple Gmail accounts, to close out all your Gmail tabs completely off, open a brand new one, and that usually clears up the situation. What ends up happening is if the most common situation is if you aren't actively switching between multiple Gmail accounts, is that Folio will lose track of which account you're logged into. And this is Gmail specific if you have the extension, because the extension lives at the Chrome browser level, which is a one order higher than the Gmail issue. So Folio is kind of referencing this guy up here, the email address up here, rather than just what's exactly over here. And if you have multiple tabs open, again, with different email accounts, things can conflict, and things that you thought were saved don't actually save, or different multiple tabs are open for different accounts, can cause some issues.
Yeah, thanks for going over that, Jemai. I think we had one more specific question that we might have to just follow up with over email since it's 6 minutes past. Do you want to share anything else?
Yeah, so the way to contact us, and if you have any follow-up questions, you can always email us support@ametree.com, or you can visit our support website from either the extension over here or through the website. There's a little support link. You can ask us questions. You can start a chat. We'll definitely respond. Or go through our information here to answer really common questions. So we have actually a little section over here under support. We can find out how to contact us, but also some common troubleshooting questions. All right, everyone, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. This session is being recorded, so once it is available, we will send it out. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your week.